The African Union.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Honorable President, I invite you to welcome the guest of honor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The President of the Arab Parliament, His Excellency Adel bin Abdul Rahman Al Assami, the Vice President of the Pan-African Parliament, Honorable Lucia Passos, Honorable Dr. Dayo Lucia Passos, and Honorable Jida Mohammed, the Vice President of the African Court, on human rights, human and people's rights, Justice Modibo Sako, who is joining us virtually. The Speaker of the National Assembly of South Africa, whom we expected to be here, and a former member of Pan-African Parliament, Honorable Angela Toko Didiza, the chairperson of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, Honorable Remy Lumbo, who is also joining us virtually. The European Union Ambassador to the African Union, His Excellency Ambassador Javier Nino Perez, also joining us virtually. The CEO of APRIM, Africa Peer Review Mechanism, Her Excellency Ambassador Marie Antoinette Quetta. Honorable members of Parliament, the Dean of African Ambassadors based in South Africa, His Excellency Andre Zapaeke, my good brother, members of diplomatic corps who are present in this chamber, the clerk of the Pan-African Parliament, Lena Kumalo, distinguished invited guests, members of the media fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, I want to first of all look at our guest of honor this morning. He is the president of the Arab Parliament. And I've read some research that says, in effect, there is a close link in history between the people on the African continent and what we call the Arab world. I may share this sometime during the session. It's a well-researched document which shows that we are one. We are one, and we should continue to work much closer, Your Excellency. We are one people, but we have not done much to show that link between the two continents. So this morning, we have our brother from the African Parliament, and so befitting that such a brother comes to be the guest of honor, and I think we need to clap for him. As you are aware, there are challenges, the Arab world challenges and challenges on this continent are much the same. They struggled for independence like ourselves. Their cultures are demonized, like the African cultures also, and even the regions, they also suffer similar problems of suppression and oppression in terms of culture and identity. Of course, including their religion. And we know what has been happening across the world, where some people would want to shun their religion. But Africa, also our religions have been shunned, some of them no longer exist. So we have common challenges, including conflicts, peace and security. So I am humbled to stand before you this morning to preside over the ordinary session of the Pan-African Parliament that we are hosting after the 25th March 2024 elective session. I am humbled further, honorable members, because in spite of everything that happened between August 2020 March 2024, members of the Pan-African Parliament still demonstrate their confidence in the leadership of this bureau by voting me in and the Vice President, Honorable Professor Masauda back in office. Our re-election and the election of Honorable Jida Muhammad is the fourth Vice President, replacing Honorable Francos Angot Toime, whose country, Gabon, was suspended from the African Union following the military coup, signaled the return of the PAP to full operational functionality. With a fully functioning bureau after 7 months of absence from full business. I will not dwell on the details of the conflict, which was very divisive, save to say that the renewal of the mandate of the initially elected bureau, with the exception of Honorable Jida, attests to the confidence that the PAP parliamentarians have in the relationship of the bureau and our ability to steer the PAP to fulfill the mandate of ensuring the full participation of the African peoples in the economic development and integration of the continent. For this, we are truly grateful to all MPs. So we are back, and allow me to draw from an illustrative quotation from an American entrepreneur, Jim Rohn, who said, all good men and women must take responsibility to create legacies that would take the next generation to a level we could only imagine. I deliberately start with this quotation as we reconvene after a long absence. Once again, because it is a sobering pointer to the responsibility that we carry. Everything we do, every action that we take, whether deliberately or otherwise, affects the legacy we leave for posterity. I'll be the first to acknowledge, and I'm sure you all agree with me, that the repeated conflicts within PAP have severely dented the public image and the perception of PAP, to the extent that one foreign minister said PAP is perceived as an institution of. I'll leave that word until next week. Deliberately, I'll say it next week. In the absence of our guests, I have left out one word. The PAP is an institution, has suffered damage, but it's our responsibility now to move forward and move on and prove to the continent that we are women and men of capacity. Despite conflicts, we are able also to repair quickly our image and demonstrate that whatever happened was unfortunate, and we mourn the past. We mourn the past and we go ahead, we move ahead. The issues of the budget, which we'll share in the course of this week or next, are very central now. We do not have enough adequate budget, but we'll get into details. But I want to remind you that as we sit here, what is our mandate? When we sit in this beautiful chamber, the mandate, according to Article 3 of the protocols, laws establishing us, I just want to remind you, they say to facilitate the effective objectives and vision of the aim, and ultimately the whole union. It says to promote the principles of human rights, democracy in Africa, and ensure that we deepen the democratic culture on this continent, and that we encourage good governance, transparency, and accountability in member states. Facilitate the peoples of Africa with the objectives and policies aimed at integrating the African continent within the framework of the establishment of the African Union, promote peace and stability. And this is instructive because if we are to promote peace and security, then we cannot ourselves be an institution of instability. Contribute to a more prosperous future for the people of Africa by promoting collaborative self-reliance and economic recovery, facilitate cooperation and development in Africa, strengthen continental solidarity, and build a sense of common destiny among the peoples of Africa. Facilitate cooperation among regional economic communities and their parliamentary fora. In fact, we should not hold a session and a day like this, we should call in representatives from various regional economic blocks, because that's also within our mandate. We need to bring them each time we meet. And Madam Clark, I think now on our templates, I think as Honorable Mutaka said the other day, we need a template of how the first day should look like. And I think one of on the template is that wherever we meet, there should be representatives of regional economic communities. Honorable members, what I've just read out is what we are called to do, these functions. And this is what we should focus on delivering to an expectant continent. I therefore implore all of us to steer clear regional and stay away from any regional or linguistic or leadership politics, which can only serve to divide us. We must guide by the principle and our collective conscience and the love of the motherland in everything we do, if we are to make the Continental Parliament effective in fulfilling functions stated above. Our operative mantra, as espoused by the African Union, should be think Africa above everything else. With this mentality, we can start talking and living our motto, which is one Africa, one voice. We have been given something that will share and deepen along the way. The AU has now divided delivery, impact, what you want to, how you are measured, of any organ. They have what I call 7 moonshots. 7, they call them moonshots. But there are no moons that you see there. What you see are what are strategic objectives or key result areas. But they've used the terminology moonshot. Key result areas. In which areas is the AU seeking to deliver? And I'll read the 7. 1, every AU member state attains at least middle income status. That's one of the objectives, key areas for them. And every member state should attain middle income status. Number 2, Africa is more integrated and connected. And in our protocol, this very clearly espoused that for African Parliament, one of your responsibilities is to ensure integration of the continent. And number 3, another key result area that public institutions are more responsive. Number 5, Africa resolves conflicts amicably. And the one resolves conflicts amicably. Number 5, African values are explicit and promoted. Number 6, African citizens are more empowered and more productive. And the last 7, Africa is a strong and influential global player. Sadly, we were, as PAP, allocated 1 moonshot out of 7. That contradicts even what the protocol says. but we'll move and endeavor to repair that. There are issues that we'll share with you, honorable members, and we've shared them again with the ambassadors under the leadership of the Dean, our brother, Ambassador, His Excellency, eh, Mazaik. We have issues that we need to confront in order to be effective. And we met on Friday with the bureaucracies in a workshop to talk about results-based management and what the AU is doing to ensure that it becomes a result-oriented African Union. And again, we are going to share a lot of these things with you. But the emphasis is on the results. Results. Not only for PAP, for all the organs and the union itself. So in our working committees and next week in our debates, we need a bit of reorientation and see that we speak to the issues that promote citizens. And we are clear about the results. We need to reposition ourselves as a PAP that responds to the issues of the continent and not a PAP that is always in conflict. So the position agenda very, very critical for this parliament in terms of image and delivery. We are accused that some people don't see results. So ask, what is PAP? What does PAP do? But I want to say 80% of those people do not have the right measurement stick for the performance of a parliament. When we say health committee, our health committee does not want to build clinics, but our health committee follows what the AU and Commission and the Health Commission have said they will do in a particular year, and the monies that are spent. Our health committee is there to oversee the implementation. We are only overseeing implementation. We are not the ones that are going to build a clinic. That money is not given to PAP. The money to build the clinic is given to other people. It's not given to us. So you can't expect us to build those clinics. But ours is to see that if we get money for a clinic or clinics, where the clinics built, yes, at what cost? Yes, that cost. No corruption, no corruption. Within the time frame, yes, that's the MP now are overseeing. And what were the objectives? Is for people not to walk more than 10 kilometers to a health center. So the MP is going to check on that. As people still walk 10 kilometers. But we have cases where clinics can be built, but people still walk 10 kilometers because the new clinics have no staff, they have no drugs, and people still go to the old place, which is far away. So that's the role of the MP. But we are evaluated as if we are the ones building. If you go to the national parliament, it's the same thing. The Ministry of Agriculture is oversighted by a committee, the Flow Committee on Agriculture. And it's not for the parliamentarians to go and plant the maize. But the parliamentarians want to ensure that even if you say we are going to produce so many metric tons of wheat this year, parliamentarians say, is that correct? Do you do that? And why you didn't? But people are evaluating PAP using wrong yardsticks. And when we go to budget sessions in AU, it becomes even more problematic as people show a bit of, I want to say, ignorance in what a parliament does. So it's our duty to sure as PAP, we communicate also who we are and what results should be expected of a parliament. That becomes very important. Some would want to say, no, you are not yet legislative. Let's wait for the Malabo Protocol. Once that one is in place, then you have the full powers of a parliament. Again, that is also a misunderstanding. Parliament does not mean making laws every day. Parliament, the role of a parliament, the most biggest part of our work is oversight. Any parliament spends 60% of its time in oversight and then a bit of representation. Of course, within oversighting for the people, for the citizens. So you go back and say, but you have not built a clinic, or you have not built this road. The people are saying. So you see the link between representative and oversighting. When you come, the people, whatever people say, we go to the minister and say, you are not doing it. Those are our roles. And we should be enabled. Currently, we are not enabled to do anything. Our budget on oversight, which is committees going for public hearings, committees making some assessments, finding missions, the budget is zero at the moment. So we are enabled, we are not given any resources to do anything, whether deliberate or not. But I think you are all aware that sometimes if you hate somebody or a student, you don't like the student, you deny them some textbooks. You give textbooks to those that you like, and those you don't like, you don't give them textbooks. It is called the setup to show syndrome by one of the leading authors. So this celebration, premature celebration about Malabo Protocol, that it will be there, it will change it. There is nothing much that will be changed in the Malabo Protocol. And that is if it is ratified at all by 28 countries. We are all aware that we are on about 14 ratifications out. We need 28. And this 14, Ambassador Bazaeke, is since 2015. Signing of or ratifications started in 2015. It's 2024. To the next year will be 10 years of Malabo. And I don't think we'll even reach 20 even in 10 years. We are working without a strategic plan. One of our immediate tasks is to ensure we have a strategic plan, but one which is properly aligned with the AU focus up to 2030. Of course, we have Agenda 2063. Who's the real institution which should inform the AU and everybody about how we are doing is a parliament, because that's where people are. Unfortunately, Agenda 2063 has remained an Addis document. It is not subjected to debate and scrutiny by MPs representing the continent, representing the people. And we need to push that issue, that we should not shortchange our public. We do have a day that we will dedicate next week to the theme of education, the theme of the year. And I believe you will prepare adequately, because one of our poets in Zimbabwe, world-known poet and author called Dambudzo Marechera, said the colonial system of education was driven by the political needs of the whites to create a black population ranged to passivity by self-disgust and acceptance of Western culture and racial superiority. Indeed, the issue of education needs a lot of interrogation by the MPs. Why is it that anything that we buy, we eat, almost everything. We're always importing. Other countries are innovating technology we import from other countries. Why? What is wrong with Africa? We have 55 countries. The European Union is 30, 39, 38? Why is that the case? And that they tend to, smaller populations are coming up with a lot of innovation in these products. Why not Africa? It is our education system, basically. And we have Africans who migrate to those places and using their brains, the Western world comes up with new innovations. So next week, when we meet on this topic, we need to go deeper. And Christopher Columbus, he said he came to Africa, to America in a saucepan. Colonial education was education for subordination, exploitation, creation, and mental confusion, and the development of underdevelopment. All these things will challenge you. We should have a good day again on peace and security. And we've invited Ambassador Bankole, the commissioner on this, to have a full day to interrogate these issues. We have the Palestine question, and what Israel is doing on Palestine in Gaza. I think this Parliament of Africa should stand up also with, on the side of Palestinians, and also applaud the government of South Africa under His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa for taking the Israel government to the International Court of Justice over the senselessness and human killing in Palestine. We actually asked him to come here so that we show that gratitude through him to the South Africans, that they've done us proud. Even in the Arab world, nobody took Israel to court. It is Africa which took Israel to court. And we should applaud ourselves as Africa, that we know what injustice is. And our during this horrific time, and we call for the cessation of hostilities and remain adamant that the two-state solution remains the only sustainable solution to the crisis. In the same vein, we shall not forget the people of Sudan who are being killed because of that senseless war, and other places on this continent. We know that DRC is also facing similar problems. It is for this parliament on this continent, we are the only ones, the only institution that can call a spade a spade. Most governments on the executive side of our member states cannot stand up to attack a friend, a colleague. But this parliament should come out clearly on every issue and even tell the Libyans that Libya, and they're coming next week, you Libyans, we don't want what you are doing. You need to unite. You can't continue in conflict after Gaddafi. You are failing to come together. And it's PAP that should clearly and loudly come out on those issues. But I finally say, our brother, our guest of honor, this is your home. And before you take the floor, we'll first ask a few speakers to lead the way for you, and then you join in at the end. So we have a list of people that give solidarity messages to PAP, and thereafter, our guest of honor will deliver his message. And before I leave the floor, can I invite His Excellency Ambassador Zapaeke, the Dean of African Diplomats, to be the first to deliver a solidarity message. I thank you.
His Excellency Chief Fortune Sharumbira, President of the Pan-African Parliament, Honorable Vice Presidents of the Pan-African Parliament, Honorable Member of the Bureau of the Pan-African Parliament, His Excellency Honorable Adel bin Abdul Rahman Al Assoumi, President of the Arab Parliament, the Right Honorable Benjamin Kalou, Deputy President of the House of Representatives of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Her Excellency Ambassador Marie-Antoinette Rose Quatre, CEO of the African Peer Review Mechanism, Her Excellency Hanan Jarrah, Ambassador of the State of Palestine, colleagues, Ambassador and High Commissioner who are here in large numbers to support our Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here today as Dean of the African Head of Diplomatic Missions to deliver on behalf of my colleagues a message of support to the work you are doing at the Pan-African Parliament. This message goes in first place to you, Honorable President, for coming back reinvigorated and determined to make this institution the foundation of unity among African nations, the foundation of integration and of democracy in Africa. We are happy to see that after many months of turbulences and inactivities, the Pan-African Parliament has resumed its activities, well determined and committed to work tirelessly for our mother continent. This message of support aims also to support and encourage the African Union, our preeminent continental organization, to continue keeping the objective of African unity high on its agenda. The adoption of the African Free Trade Continental Area is a positive step that brings us closer to the dreams of our founding fathers and now makes possible the building of what we usually call the Africa we want. Thank you. This message is also to support the celebration of 30 years of democracy in South Africa, a country that is starting the rule of its seventh administration in peace, without going through civil war, without any attempt to change the constitution, and without putting leaders of the opposition in prison. Sorry, give me a second. I've lost my text. History is unfolding in front of us in South Africa. The clear lesson we can learn from this development in this country is that without peace and without respect of the rule of law, there will be no democracy and no development. This is a strong message to bring to our people everywhere on the continent. Congratulations to South Africa and to all South African institutions, including the opposition, for their patriotic role in the consolidation of democracy in the country. On behalf of my colleagues, African heads of diplomatic missions, I wish good luck to the Government of National Unity and to all South Africans in this new phase of their history. South African diplomacy has played an outstanding role in the promotion of fundamental values and principles of democracy, human rights, and justice on the continent and also elsewhere in the world, such as in the Middle East, through an unwavering support to the people of Palestine. Through this determination, South Africa has contributed tremendously to making the voice of Africa heard all over the world. Congratulations also to the continent for the increasing number of African countries that are committed to democracy and have recently experienced democratic changes, particularly in countries such as Nigeria, Senegal, Chad, Democratic Republic of Congo, Kenya, etc. The Pan-African Parliament, in its role as the link between the African national legislatures, is also expected to be the link between the people of the continent, between the farmers of Ali Sabi in Djibouti and their brothers and sisters of Hombori in Mali, or between the victims of gender-based violence in war-torn Sudan and the victims of jihadism in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo or Northern Mozambique. The Pan-African Parliament should not be an institution for the elite. Therefore, the ordinary African should be able to recognize themselves in the Pan-African Parliament. Honorable President and honorable members of the Pan-African Parliament, you have a lot on your plate, and the way to the Africa we want is still long. But there is a hope, and the vibrant African youth, with the help of social media, is more and more vocal and demanding. Our young people want jobs, quality education and healthcare, better living conditions. We are delighted to see that the AU theme of this year is the education. Honorable President and members of the Pan-African Parliament, the implementation of the Agenda 2063 is still a challenge, and the way to the Africa we want is still a long way. Let's leave behind us the non-productive behaviors that divide us and use our energy to address and meet the real expectation of our people. As is Honorable the President of the Pan-African Parliament has just said, the people of Africa will not forgive us if we fail. For that, the PAP can count on the contribution of the group of African heads of diplomatic missions in South Africa to help fulfill its duty for the benefits of our people. Together, and with the determination of our people, we will make the miracle happen. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Zapaeke. Another round of applause. I now call upon Honorable Justice Modibo Sako, the Vice President of the African Court on Women and People's Rights, virtual remarks.
Thank you, Mr. President of Parliament. I would like to, we cannot hear the speaker. Your Excellency, Fortune Chorombira, President of the Pan-African Parliament, Honorable Dr. Naneshdi, Minister in charge of cooperation of the Republic of South Africa, Honorable Angela Zoko-Disa. Yes, we need volume, Mr. President. Honorable Abdel In Abdurrahman As-Sunni, we cannot hear the speaker. Your Excellency Javier, Ambassador of the European Union at the African Union, honorable members, on the occasion of the opening of the Pan-African Parliament, I have the singular honor of taking the floor on behalf of Imani Babut, who has not been able because of previous commitments. The President conveys to you his very warm greetings on this morning, would like to thank you for the invitation that was extended to us. The themes under the aegis of which this session is placed are a very good choice and very relevant all along life in Africa, and also as part, and they are also part of the themes of the African Court of Justice and Human Rights. We have the duty to promote and respect while guaranteeing honorable members of Parliament, Excellencies, distinguished guests. 2024 has been a very important year because it represents the start of the decade, the 2 decades of Agenda 2063, taking into consideration the role of human rights in the development of the continent and the role it has to play. The Executive Council of the African Union has decided in January 2024 and has requested the court, in collaboration with the African Union Commission and the PRC subcommittees, to set up indicators on the protection of human rights on the continent for the next 10 years on the implementation of Agenda 2063. It is worth noting that the African Court and other organs with a mandate on the protection of human rights, such as the African Commission on Human People's Rights, the Experts Committee on the Welfare of Children, have been mandated in order to develop the implementation the involvement of the public institutions in this respect. To do so, the court and other organs provided with a mandate should formulate strategic objectives related to human rights and integrate them into the Agenda 2063. Honorable members of the Parliament, distinguished guests, allow me first of all to briefly touch upon the economic and socio-cultural rights. The capacity of our organs to have an independent organ is very important. We have to recall that socio-economic and cultural rights are part and parcel of human rights. The African Charter of Human People's Rights has codified the 3 generations of human rights into one binding instrument and has conferred on them the same value, confirming the principle of indivisibility, interdependence, and interrelation of human rights. On the basis of this, several African countries have included socio-cultural rights in their constitutions. Literacy is essential for development and is considered as one of the fundamental rights without which other rights could be compromised. The organs of the African Union on human rights have developed also a jurisprudence on the protection of socio and cultural rights. Through the jurisprudence of the African Court, we interpret and apply legal standards in order to have good quality instruments which would benefit all Africans regardless of their origin and their situation. The right for education includes the quality and the relevance of the education that is provided as part of its mandate to the African Court. Deals with cases of obstacles to education. In the case and the Court of the inhabitants of Abidjan and its outskirts have alleged to have been poisoned on the 19th of January 2023. Some have suffered from the effects of this poisoning and others have deceased because they were exposed to toxic waste which were discharged by multinational cargo. The African Court has ordered the state to organize training course for the staff involved in order to sensitize them on the protection of human rights and to include this into the university syllabus, and ordered also Côte d'Ivoire. By doing this, the court considers that this is a good instrument for the safeguard of environment and to make also governments responsible in our efforts to reinforce the education system. We also deal with systemic problems such as gender equality and also to fight against disparity in the results of education. This represents concerns on human rights and particularly women's rights for education and also the rights for persons living with disabilities in order to provide them with possibilities of learning. Excellencies, the year 2023 has been very rich for the court. It has undertaken several activities in order to honor its mandate effectively. As an example, it has rendered a great number of rulings, and particularly on the protection of the environment. In 2024, the court was still faced with same challenges. Up to now, after 25 years of the protocol, out of 34 countries, only 10 countries have ratified. And the protocol allows individuals to seize the court directly. In addition, out of the 200 judgments that have been made by the court since its creation, we can record only 10% which have been implemented. As you all know, the inherent jurisdiction should render judgments only when these judgments could be implemented. The court invites the Pan-African Parliament to plead in favor of a greater number of ratifications of the protocol, which would allow the NGOs to seize the court directly on human rights. The Parliament has also a key role in order to see to it that member states abide by judgments that have been rendered by the court. This is why the court will do its utmost in order to make member states accountable and implement the judgments of the court. The Pan-African Parliament should, through its members, that these policies be implemented on the ground. However, despite these challenges, the court considers that the role of the court on human rights should not be underestimated. It should complement the work that is being accomplished by courts nationally. The court should work together with national courts for the promotion of human rights, which is a fight incumbent on member states. To this end, the court pursues its missions. And can play a very important role, particularly as part of the platform of the African governance architecture. This could be facilitated by providing a dialogue. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable members, to conclude, I would like to launch an appeal to the Pan-African Parliament as a representative of African peoples and tell them that the court is yours. It has been created in order for human rights in Africa to be abided by and respected. We should place human rights at the center of our discourse and our socio-economic and cultural discourse. Honorable members, distinguished guests, our partners through the continent, we will continue to work for an Africa adapted to the 20th century, which will prosper thanks to a lifelong learning. I thank you for your kind attention. I wish you a very good meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Justice Modibo Sako. I now call upon Honorable Remy Ngoi Lumbu, Chairperson of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. Again, it's virtual presentation.
Excellences, Mesdames, Messieurs,
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, honorable members of parliament, dear members of the Pan-African Parliament, my name is Longo, President of the African Commission on Peoples and Human Rights, whose seat is in Banjul. I have been invited to be part of this opening ceremony of the third session of the 6th legislature of the Pan-African Parliament, which is taking place in Midrand, South Africa, from the 24th of June to the 5th of July 2024. I would like, in my personal name and on behalf of the organ I represent, to thank the Pan-African Parliament for inviting us. Many do not know it. Members of the African Union have entrusted the African Commission on Human and People's Rights a legislative function in line with Article 45 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights by requesting the Commission to formulate and elaborate with a view to serve as a basis for the adoption of legislative text by the African governments, the principles and the rules which would rule the solution of legal problems for the people to enjoy human rights on the African continent. This mandate is identical to those of the Pan-African Parliament, and I would like, in conformity with the agreements which link our two institutions, to provide our support to PAP. Myself and the commissioners who are with me provide our support to all the Bureau and the President, Chief Charumbira, and Madame the Clerk of the Pan-African Parliament, Midiwe Kumalo. I wish you full success. Wish full success to all honorable members of the Pan-African Parliament, and hope that I will be able to come and attend physically the proceedings of the 4th ordinary session, which you will hold soon. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, my brother, Honorable Lumbu. I now call upon His Excellency, Ambassador Javier Nino Perez, European Union Ambassador to the African Union, virtual presentation.
Honorable Chief Charumbira, President of the Pan-African Parliament, Honorable Vice Presidents, Honorable members of the Pan-African Parliament. Let me first of all, in my capacity as EU Ambassador to the African Union, European Ambassador to the African Union, express my gratitude and my appreciation for giving me the possibility, having been unable to travel, to address this distinguished audience, to address the Pan-African Parliament at these rather momentous times in Europe, in Africa, and I would say globally. a challenging time that requires a deep spirit of partnership, the spirit with which the European Union wants to engage and work with Africa. We listen to each other, we learn to each other, and we build together. And we build together on many areas. We work together on many areas, one of which is trying to strengthen the African governance architecture, of which the Pan-African Parliament is clearly one of the cornerstones. We have been provided financial and political support to your institutions over the past few years, and I commit myself on behalf of the institutions to continue to do so. And we will continue supporting you, Honorable President, honorable members, because we believe in the extremely important role that the Pan-African Parliament can work on issues like conflict prevention, crisis management, political mediation, democracy, human rights, but also many other areas, including the continental free trade area. We in Europe, having celebrated our European Parliament elections only a few days ago, are fully aware of the importance of democratic institutions, of bringing legitimacy to the actions we undertake and to the policies we define. And this is why I said once again that we remain fully committed to wholeheartedly supporting the actions, the policies, and the vision of the Pan-African Parliament. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency Ambassador Javier Nino Perez. I now call upon Excellency Ambassador Marie-Antoinette Rose Quart, the CEO of the African Peer Review Mechanism. Can we clap for her? Just to let you know that she's a former parliamentarian in Seychelles.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Fortune Charumbira, who's the President of the Pan-African Parliament, Honorable Ahmed bin Abdul Rahman Al-Sumi, President of the Arab Parliament, Honorable Vice Presidents of the Pan-African Parliament, Honorable Remy Ngoyi Lumbu, the Chairperson of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, Honorable Justice Modibo Sako, the Vice President of the African Court on Human and People's Rights, Dean of the African Diplomatic Corps, European Union Ambassador to the African Union, Your Excellencies Ambassadors, honorable members of the Pan-African Parliament, Clerk of the Pan-African Parliament, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed, good morning. It is an honor for the APRM and for me to be received in this sanctuary of democracy, where so much of the history of our continent has been written. We are surrounded today with symbols and setups which remind us that Africa has made the choice of democracy, the voice of its people with heart in hand. Extraordinary efforts and struggles have been made to hear the voice and sounds of the people. We committed ourselves to freedom and justice, starting with those that gave birth to our continental institutions. Since then, we have shared a common vision for the well-being of our people. Our various regional bodies are rooted in the same soil, grounded in the same ideals of a continent entrenched in the African shared values of democracy, good governance, peace, security, and stability. And yet we remain committed to keep the momentum and to always be on the right side of history. This morning, I stand before you to address the representatives of the African people. Here we stand in this beautiful parliament. The essence of the relationship between our various institutions is that we have never lost this special will, deeply rooted not only in our history, but also in our spirit to collaborate. Please allow me in the same vein to seize this opportunity to congratulate you, Mr. President, and the members of the Bureau for your election to preside over this august institution, as well as the new members who were sworn in this morning. I'm also very grateful, and I would also like to thank you, honorable members of the Pan-African Parliament, for welcoming me on this occasion. Let me as well express my heartfelt appreciation for the recent credible, free and fair general elections in the Republic of South Africa, our gracious host country, the smooth and seamless election of the Speaker, Deputy Speaker, and those of the provincial governments, as well as the election and inauguration of the President of the Republic, bears testimony to the steadfast commitment of the people of South Africa to consolidating and entrenching democracy, good governance, unity, cohesion of the nation, especially as the country celebrates 30 years of freedom and democracy. And similarly, I would also like to congratulate other African member states that have gone through elections and have upheld the principles of democracy and good governance. The APRM commends you for adhering to and promoting our shared values. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is with a singular pleasure that I speak today before this august institution, just a few weeks after I assumed duty as a new CEO of the APRM Continental Secretariat. Having been for 10 years of my life a member of the Parliament in Seychelles, and the latter part of it as a leader of government business in Parliament, I take the full measure of the importance of the mission of the Pan-African Parliament and the sensitivity of its work. Once a servant of the people, always a servant of the people. Indeed, the Pan-African Parliament has a critical role to play in promoting and advancing democracy and good governance in Africa as a requirement to achieve development for the well-being and the prosperity of our people. As the democratically elected representatives of the people, our Parliament has the honorable task to be the voice of the voiceless, to ensure that their needs and views are represented, and to guarantee their full participation in discussions and decision-making on the problems and challenges facing the continent. Its representational role allows it to respond to the growing public pressure for greater involvement, information, accountability, and better service delivery to citizens. Our respective legislative branches in our member states have a critical role in the performance of its key functions of legislation, representation, and oversight. They are expected to actively engage in the development and implementation of laws, policies, and practices that promote democracy, good governance, regional integration, socio-economic transformation, and the protection of those most vulnerable in society, such as women and children, amongst others. It is our earnest conviction that the Pan-African Parliament will impose itself as an action-oriented institution which will be working forward to greater results only for the interests of the continent beyond our political differences and dynamics. We may certainly recall the words of a former member of Parliament who stated that my function in life is not to be a politician in Parliament, it is to get something done. This is a historical reminder and a call for greater commitment from the institution which represents us all. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the strength of our bonds is a source of our shared ideals. This is why it seems fundamental for our institutions to continue building on the ideal of solidarity. It is essential to consolidate our areas of collaboration for resounding success in the fulfillment of our respective mandates. I am delighted with the regular exchanges that the APRM maintains with the Pan-African Parliament and which have allowed us to date to establish a common vision and efforts in areas as varied as the production and dissemination of the country review reports, African governance reports, the early warning for conflict prevention reports, and the empowerment of women and youths, among others. I would like to express the hope that we continue to work together to strengthen our cooperation to meet the legitimate aspirations and expectations of our people and our leaders who have placed their trust in us. This is not an option. We cannot and must not disappoint those we represent, in whom we invest on a daily basis. As you know, the APRM has embarked in carrying out flagship projects whose objectives are to support the efforts of our states in the promotion of democracy and good governance. We have already launched the development of the Africa Governance Report 2025. We are also preparing to conduct comprehensive reviews in some participating states, as well as reviews on thematic areas. I would therefore like to solemnly invite, as in the past, the Parliament to join and support us in carrying out those initiatives. At a time when we are investing in giving significance and relevance to the African Union's theme of the year, I would like to underline its seriousness in an international context where the acquisition of education and knowledge is a tool for development, influence, but also for empowerment. Indeed, as the great Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. By 2050, Africa's population will exceed 2.3 billion people. Its urban cities, too, will see a doubling of the population, with some 1.3 billion people added, 2/3 of which will be under the age of 35. There are necessary efforts we need to carry out to make sure that these young people get educated, trained, and acquire skills to not only create decent living conditions and foster economical growth, but to shape the future of our continent in a brand new way. It is our common responsibility, therefore. There is therefore no need to call the contribution that our organizations must provide to promote education in Africa so that the continent meets the challenges of an evolving world. For my part, I undertake to continue to be actively involved in a collaboration which will enable us to contribute effectively to the achievement of our continental priorities, including education and the attainment of our shared goals and vision as embodied in AU's Agenda 2063. As a former member of Parliament, know that in me, you will find a strong supporter who understands perfectly the importance of serving our people whilst navigating the dynamics of partisan politics. Know that in our team at the APRM, you will find a committed collaborator to further advance our common interests and values. And know that in this part of town, you will find like-minded individuals driven by the singular desire to ensure that the Pan-African spirit continues to soar and to touch each and every one of our citizens for the felicity of our peoples. So I wish you, members of parliament, I wish you fruitful deliberations and success in your endeavors, and I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Excellency. I now call upon the Right Honorable Benjamin Kalu, Deputy Speaker, or representing the Speaker of the House of Representatives of Nigeria. So, you are Deputy Speaker representing the Speaker of Nigeria. Deputy Speaker is now a member of PAP.
What a beautiful morning that we have today, especially when you consider the beautiful colors of Africa that is seen around this room. And also when you think about the beautiful tunes that came from those dancers, the young ones, who just danced beautifully a few moments ago. It is in that rhythm that you see the power of Africa, the unity and the harmony of the music that they played gives you the confidence that Africa can actually get it right. Let me start by thanking you, Mr. President of the Pan-African Parliament, His Excellency Chief Senator Fortune Charum Bira, the President of the Arab Parliament, His Excellency Adel bin Abdul Rahman Al-Soni, the Vice Presidents of the Pan-African Parliament, the Vice President of the African Court on Human and People's Rights, Honorable Justice Modibo Sako, who joined us virtually, the Speaker of the National Assembly of South Africa that we are still expecting, Honorable Angela Toko Didiza, the Chairperson of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, Honorable Remy Ngoy Lumbu, who also joined us virtually. The European Union Ambassador to the African Union, His Excellency Ambassador Javier Perez, who as well joined us virtually. The CEO of the Africa Peer Review Mechanism, Her Excellency Ambassador Maria Antoniette Rose Quatre, who just spoke a few moments ago. Honorable members of the Pan-African Parliament, the Dean of African Ambassadors in South Africa, His Excellency Nzapayeke, members of the Diplomatic Corps, the Clerk of the Pan-African Parliament, Ms. Lindiwe Kumalo, distinguished invited guests, members of the Secretariat, ladies and gentlemen of the press, invited guests. It is a privilege to appear before you as a special guest and also as a new member of this parliament to present the goodwill message at the third ordinary section of the 6th Parliament of the Pan-African Parliament. I bring you special greetings and warm solidarity from my colleagues at the National Assembly of Nigeria, and more profoundly from my leaders, the Speaker of the House of Representatives and the President of the Senate of Nigeria. Your Excellency President Charum Bira, I note that this is the first statutory section of the Pan-African Parliament since your re-election, following an extraordinary section convened in March 2024 on the guidance of the Executive Council of the African Union. Mr. President, I wish to congratulate you and your team of the Bureau for this significant and remarkable milestone in your tenure at this institution. Your re-election by an overwhelming majority of the Pan-African parliamentarian is a testament to your remarkable leadership and a reflection of the confidence in your ability to reposition this institution as a formidable one in the African Union governance architecture. Once again, congratulations. Thank you. I am particularly fascinated by the theme of this section, which is anchored on the African Union theme for 2024, which has been identified as the year of education with a focus on educating an African that is fit for the 21st century. The underlying policy thrust is to build resilient education systems for increased access to inclusive access to lifelong, increased access to quality and relevant learning in Africa. I may not have been present and a member of this hallowed chamber when the theme was crafted and pondered upon, but I'm pleased, very much so, pleased with it, because it deals with a germane African situation and issue. As the great Madeba has been quoted here and here again, just by the former speaker who spoke a few minutes ago, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. We will not get tired of referring to this quotation, because truly, indeed, it is the best tool. These words should serve as a powerful reminder of the transformative power of education in driving positive change and enabling sustainable development for our great continent. Honorable colleagues, invited guests, the selection of this theme and the imperative of a continental transformational education agenda could not have been, could not have come at a time better than now, when we are in need for growth and development of the continent of Africa, particularly when you consider recent empirical reports suggesting that globally, education is in deep crisis. Well done to those who selected this theme, because it's through education that we innovate. And with innovation that is mixed with technology, we challenge tradition and we become more productive as a continent. We could not have chosen a better topic than education. This is critical for Africa. When you take into consideration the disturbing reports of the lack of appreciable progress towards the attainment of sustainable development goals, especially SDG 4, which is on education. This is further complicated by a report reflected in the recent United Nations Continental Education Strategy, CESAR, that paints a disturbing picture that Africa accounts for the greater gaps towards the achievement of SDG 4 objectives when compared to other continents. A cause for a concern. And I'm happy it is the theme of our deliberation during this section. This inability to sustain an attainment of this goal on education truly underscores the urgency of a parliamentary intervention and the need to reaffirm through this section our collective commitment to resourceful education policies. We are complaining that we have not met the expectation of SDG 4, while those that we have trained are migrating daily to other jurisdictions. The role of this parliament is to adopt a Pan-African approach to cure this defect. This is our job as leaders, and it is our job as representatives of the people. And if it is our job, we must do it. If we are fit for purpose, we must chest out to deal with it. The era of blaming anybody is gone. It is now our responsibility to deal with our problems. Nothing more, nothing less. Let me repeat. The era of blame game is gone. It is our responsibility. It is our problem. We are going to own it and we are going to deal with it. Thank you. This is a call for immediate action. And I'm pleased that the leadership of President Charumbira is not wasting any time in addressing this major continental deficiency in our education system. Honorable colleagues, permit me to reflect briefly on our experience in Nigeria with regards to education. It is remarkable to note that this theme aligns quite substantively to the legislative priorities established under my leadership at the Nigerian House of Representatives, and more fervently with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's focus on prioritizing education as a major catalyst to economic development. This involves the increased funding for schools, scholarships, and initiatives like free school meals for African children living in Nigeria. Whether you're a Nigerian or not, you are entitled to that school meal. This commitment has also informed the initiation and passage of the Student Loan Access to Higher Education Act in 2023, and is ensuing operationalization earlier this year after being assented to by Mr. President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The purpose of this act is to create seamless access to credit facilities for quality higher education, ensuring that all Nigerian students have the opportunity to achieve their academic potentials regardless of their financial background. I also want to share our experience from Nigeria regarding strengthening infrastructure, ensuring educational continuity during crisis, and leveraging technology to remote learning. Nigeria regulators in the public education sector are paving the way with innovative licenses that power the next level of innovation from its vibrant edu-tech industry. A prime example is the MIVA Open University, which received an open distant e-learning license from the National University Commission to operate online classes currently in Nigeria. In September 2023, this Open University officially kicked off its bachelor's degree program through its online distant e-learning platform. This demonstrates how the rest of Africa can learn from Nigeria's stride in embracing and implementing modern learning systems to enhance educational access and quality. In addition to these efforts, Nigeria is championing lifelong learning opportunities through initiatives like vocational training and adult literacy programs. My office, the Office of the Deputy Speaker in Nigeria's House of Representatives, has already sponsored draft legislations that institutionalizes a national apprenticeship scheme for the country and has passed the second reading. This demonstrates our commitment to equipping our citizens with the skills necessary for a dynamic and evolving economy. We must also focus on the education of our people with physical disabilities, ensuring that our education system are inclusive and accessible to all. Furthermore, it is crucial that we insist on utilizing an African model of learning to pass knowledge. Our knowledge acquisition model should be tailored to suit the African dynamics, ensuring that our educational methods are relevant and effective in our unique context. With all of these in mind, we must advocate for a specific target percentage of our national budget dedicated to education. This will serve as a landmark goal for all African countries, engineering a continent-wide commitment. In addition, by sharing best practices in teacher training, curriculum development, and technology utilization, we can leverage the collective wisdom of Africa for the benefit of all. Furthermore, I propose the creation of a dedicated fund to support national efforts and address funding disparities across the continent. This will ensure no child is left behind on the path to a brighter future. Also, in order to track progress and foster accountability, establishing clear targets for country representative at the parliament, it is very imperative that we take it seriously. This will set the stage for peer review and informative country-by-country presentation at future PAP section. I'm looking forward, Mr. President, to more robust parliamentary deliberation on this subject. I hope that we can translate the outcome of our deliberation into tangible, achievable, and realistic milestones. Before I end, let me emphasize that if AU, as a democratic institution, want to be seen as one, it is important, and the time is now, for the legislative arm of AU to be strengthened beyond where it is. An era of having a budget by the executive arm of AU that is going to be oversighted by the legislative arm without the input of the appropriation right of this arm of the government of AU should be gone. A new era that is transparent, a new era that is credible, a new era that has integrity should now come into place. Through our shared experience, we can establish a clear continental data-driven mechanism for intervention as we are currently undertaking in Nigeria, and further ensure that our objective and goal articulated in this section are reflected in our national budget priorities. Our objectives must be predicated on inclusive growth and eradicating multidimensional poverty, as well as other economic challenges that impede access to quality education. We must therefore agree that the circumstances, finally, that expose our youth to avoidable migration due to the absence of education and skill must abate. As Malcolm X rightly observed, education is the passport to the future, and tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Right, Honorable Benjamin Kalu, representing the Speaker of the House of Representatives of Nigeria. Just to advise that next week we'll have a whole day debate on the theme of education. And I see your speech being very handy and valuable at the next week again. You can actually reread it for that day and the debate. We have two more speakers, one before the guest of honor. And the next speaker, Her Excellency Hanan Jara, Ambassador of the Palestine Republic of the Ambassador in South Africa.
شكرا لك معالي السيد فورنشير شرمبيرا رئيس برلمان عموم أفريقيا معالي السيد عادل عصومي
Your Excellency Adel Soni, President of the Arab Parliament, Your Excellencies, Vice Presidents of the Pan-African Parliament, Your Excellency, Mr. André Daviti, Dean of the Diplomatic Corps for Africa, based in South Africa, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, members of this August Assembly, Excellencies, ambassadors accredited to South Africa, ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. It is a great honor and a pleasure for me to be standing here before you at this free rostrum, which represents the free people of Africa. I'm very delighted to convey to you the greetings of our steadfast Palestinian people and the leadership of the Palestinian Authority under the authority of Mahmoud Abbas and Rawi Maftuh, Speaker of the Palestinian People's Assembly. Your Excellencies, dear guests, as we all know, our Palestinian people is in Gaza Gaza in particular, is exposed to genocide since the 7th of October 2023. And up to yesterday, the number of victims has reached 38,000 martyrs, and the numbers of the injured has gone beyond 91,000, 71% of whom are women and children. And it does not, as if this does not suffice, the Israeli extermination through its barbarian army has killed and has wiped out entire families from civil registry and is still killing our children. That is one child every 15 minutes, and the rest have been affected with disabilities. This while half of the inhabitants of Gaza, that is amounting to 2 million people, have lost their homes and their jobs. And most of the schools have been demolished. Most of the universities have been demolished. And also general hospitals, which have been targeted on purpose. And also massacres have been committed, and shrines, religious shrines, have been demolished, and even historical monuments. And here, such as the Church of the Orthodox Roman Church, which is considered as the oldest church in the world, and also the Omarian Mosque in Gaza. In addition to that, the civilians are being prevented from food, preventing commodities to get into the Strip of Gaza, while the world is keeping silent, regrettably. And before the bombardment of the Israeli army, and the civilian population is being prevented from getting assistance. And the world is looking at the demolition of properties, coupled with the policies of forced displacement, and also daily arrests which are committed by the settlers and the Israeli army against the population in the West Bank, in addition to the violation of the religious shrines, and particularly the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And in order to Judaize these shrines, what the Palestinian people is exposed to is a second Nakba. Since this terminology has been established in the United Nations, and the purpose of this catastrophe or Nakba is to uproot the Palestinian people and chase it, get it out of its land where its ancestors have lived and have established one of the most ancient civilizations in humanity. The first catastrophe or Nakba has taken place in 1948, supported by the superpowers, and 700,000 Palestinians have been ousted from Palestine, and genocide has been committed then. And more than 78% of the Palestinian lands have been occupied. And up to now, the Nakba or catastrophe is still going on a daily basis, up to now. Your Excellencies, dear guests, I would like to point out from this rostrum and commend the role of the Republic of South Africa, this historic stand, and South Africa, which has tried this the Israeli occupant. This is the first state which has brought this entity to international justice and has been able to activate and also we waken up the international consciousness. In this context, we would like to value the joining of several countries from various continents to the complaint of South Africa, where Libya and other countries have joined this decision. We would like also to commend the role of South Africa in also joining or filing a complaint to the ICC, and would like to commend countries which have joined the Republic of South Africa. Would like to commend also the efforts which are being played by the Republic of Algeria and also the Republic of Mozambique in the Security Council in order to put an end to this extermination war against our people, and the efforts also of Namibia, of Egypt, Sierra Leone, Ghana, and all the countries which support the international law in the Security Council. While I welcome now the president of the Arab president call on additional coordination between the Arab Parliament and the Pan-African Parliament in order to champion the cause of our people and all the peoples of the two parts of the world, the Arab and the African world. Your Excellencies, dear guests, the state of Palestine, the observer member in PAP, while we wish full success to the proceedings of this session in the benefit of the continental humanity, call upon you to condemn the war of extermination which is imposed on our Palestinian people, and would like also to call on you to support the efforts of South Africa and also the African members in the Security Council, and urge all the states of the world not to move their embassies to Jerusalem, and wish also that you could add a paragraph on the developments of the Palestinian cause, and invite also members from the Palestinian Council to speak as part of the proceedings of your committees on human rights, women's rights, and the rights of the youth. And would like also to welcome you to come and visit Palestine in order to see by yourselves the practices of ethnic cleansing by Israel. We wish that efforts will be crowned in putting an end to this war, so that peace will be installed on the land of peace. Our people is longing for return. Longing for return, freedom, and the establishment of its independent state with Al-Quds as its capital city. As conclusion, I would like to express my very sincere thanks for giving me this opportunity to address you directly. Thank you.
Yeah, a musical interlude.
On stage quiet. Quiet on stage. One song. That song.
Now, guests of honor, honorable members, may I take this opportunity as a great honor to me to introduce our guest of honor, His Excellency Abdel bin Abdurrahman Al Salom, the President of the Arab Parliament. Mr. President can now take the podium. Thank you.
Can you stand up? Can you rise at this meeting?
شكرا جزيلا. شكرا.
صاحب المعالي الأخ العزيز شرمبيرة رئيس برلمان عموم أفريقيا.
Your Excellency President Charumbira, Your Excellency members of the Pan-African Parliament, Excellencies ambassadors of countries accredited to South Africa, dear participants, Assalamu alaikum. All right. It is a great pleasure and honor for me to be amongst you today in this great edifice that represents the voice of the free African people and expresses their will. And allow me at the outset to express my sincere thanks and gratitude to my dear brother, His Excellency Mr. Charumbira, President of the Pan-African Parliament, for his generous hospitality and warm welcome, and to reiterate to His Excellency my heartfelt congratulations and good wishes on his re-election as President of the Pan-African Parliament, wishing him every success. In fact, during my previous meetings, with my dear brother, His Excellency Mr. Charumbira Shah, I noted his strong keenness on strengthening Arab-African parliamentary cooperation and also his keenness on the need for concrete initiatives and steps on the ground beyond language and words. So I would like to express to him all thanks and gratitude to His Excellency. Distinguished participants, Arab-African relations are historically deep-rooted, drawn by geographical cohesion, strengthened by cultural and civilizational ties between the Arab and the African people. We're knowing that Africa has been the cradle of humanity, and we also share the fight together to achieve freedom and independence for a world based on equality, justice, respect for human dignity, and anti-apartheid, and the preservation of the capabilities of peoples and other lofty values that our founding fathers have inaugurated in our Arab and African world. And we are proud that about half of the Arab states are also African states. What connects the Arab and African peoples is a common destiny, and it is high time for Arab-African relations to take their natural course that would be in line with our common civilization and cultural heritage, and with the potentials we possess that are unavailable for other countries. God blessed us with natural resources, brilliant minds, scientific and practical expertise, and enormous workforce. And our peoples have the right to ask themselves how all these elements are available while the path of African integration remains. All around us is changing. The challenges we face are growing, notably as we are living in an era of regional economic blocs. And we Arab and Africans should have a place in this tough global race, which imposes on us to activate and develop economic integration mechanisms amongst us, not just as a desire or wish, but through policies and actions on the ground, until we reach a stage where our common economic immunity is strong and able to cope with any future crisis safely in order to preserve the capabilities of present and future generations. You would agree with me that along this path are not limited to the role played by governments on both sides, but we parliamentarians, as representatives of the peoples of the Arab-African Partnership, can have a central role in consolidating and strengthening the foundations of partnership. I therefore would like to see the entry of medical and humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip. We are facing a global reality that imposes new rules and concepts that enshrine and defend the principle of double standards. Even we are facing global reality that is looking for excuses for state terror at the expense of the principles, norms, and values of international law. Undoubtedly, the whole world, before this painful reality, is in dire need for reviewing the rules governing the will of the international community and restoring the prestige and the rule of the international law and international humanitarian law to prevent the law of the jungle from prevailing. And with your permission, could we please stand for a minute of silence for the victims of the war in Gaza? Thank you. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, representatives of the free African people, we have always seen you as supporters of the right for self-determination and liberation from occupational colonialism, and admittedly, your ethical positions in support of legitimate rights of the Palestinian people and are an extension of the lofty values rooted in the mind and conscience of the African people. I would not be present here on on the South African soil without renewing our tribute for its honorable stances championing the Palestinian people and for the prosecution of war criminals of the brutal occupation entity before the International Court of Justice. I also value the positions of, and we have taken in the Arab Parliament to decorate the President of South Africa with the highest decoration or medal. And this is the first president to receive such a decoration from us for appreciating the position of the Republic of South Africa. And would like also to value the stance of the countries which have stood for the rights of the Palestinians, and also would like to commend the state of Bahrain for its stand. We are required now more than ever before to provide all forms of possible support and assistance to help the Palestinian people in the current crisis until they achieve all their legitimate rights, primarily the establishment of their independent state with the city of Jerusalem as its capital. All events and developments have proved that this is the only way to achieve security and stability in the region. Also, the heroic and valiant sacrifices of the Palestinian people in the face of the massacres and crimes committed by the occupying entity confirms that the cause of the right holder will never perish, and his will would never be broken, and his resilience would not decrease, no matter what kind of policies of killing, destruction, displacement is facing. In conclusion, I reiterate that relations between our Arab and African states are based on a long history of common struggle, trust, and mutual respect, as well as founded on a broad base of cultural, religious, and popular ties and common interests. Such relations must be in a far better position than they are now. I frankly declare to you that facts of the history and geography reaffirm beyond doubt that African states are the first strategic depth of Arab states and their key partner in building a future that is worthy of our Arab and African people. Once again, I would like to reiterate and value the efforts of His Excellency, the President of the Pan-African Parliament, which we do see through him a sincere man who has helped us in adding additional bricks to the edifice of cooperation between Africa and the Arab world. And he has supported our causes, and would like to express our full appreciation to this great man, to President Charumbira. Once again, I would like to reiterate my thanks and gratitude and wish the continuation of constructive cooperation between us for the benefit of our people. Thank you for your kind attention. Thank you.
Your Excellency, our guest of honor, Honorable Abdel Bin Somali. We are humbled by your delivery, your speech, and would want to give you another round of applause. Typical of African culture, clapping and showing appreciation is one of our great virtues, and we are doing it. And more so, you always give someone, apart from the lunch that we invite you to as part of our culture, that you always want to give something to eat. Before we give you that, it is also our culture to give you a souvenir, something symbolic, so that you remember that you once stood in this chamber to address Pan-African Parliament. So we have some gift for you. Can you please walk up here for the gift? Your Excellency, we are in Africa, we're in African Parliament. This will assist you to remember the continent and today's event. So I present to you the continent of Africa. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I hand over to the clerk.
Honorable President, I would like to announce 4 items for honorable members. First, there will be a photo session of all honorable members of Parliament on the lawn area outside the chamber building. The media and communication ushers will escort honorable members accordingly. The second announcement is that honorable members are invited to process their African Union passports during the course of this week, but beginning this afternoon. The African Union technical staff that process the passports will be available at the chairperson's mess, which is on the first floor of the building across from the chamber. They'll be there from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. This afternoon. At different intervals, members may avail themselves of this facility. The third announcement is that the session program for this afternoon will consist of caucus meetings, and the room allocation is as follows. For West Africa Regional Caucus, the chamber will be the venue for meeting. For East Africa Regional Caucus, Committee Room 3. For Southern Africa Regional Caucus, Caucus Room 8. Central Africa Regional Caucus, Committee Room 2. And North African Regional Caucus, Committee Room 1. The rest of the programs and activities will be as per the program that was circulated to members. On the 25th, 27th, and the 28th, committees will sit according to the program. And on the 26th, the seminar on the theme of the year. Honorable President, these are the announcements for the day.
Just to emphasize that on Wednesday, we are all expected to be back to the chamber at 9 a.m. for the seminar on the theme of education. So committees tomorrow, but Wednesday we all come back here for the seminar, and further announcements will be made. AU National Anthem.
And unity, oh, Félix et filles de l'Afrique, chers du soleil, chers du ciel, faites de l'Afrique la belle de vie. Let us all unite to see together, one the frame of destiny. Let us educate. Essência do sol, essência do céu, façamos o pecado da vida. Let us all unite and join together to bring out to Africa. They bring the Lord mankind in front of culture. Breath of God. Now, look, I am into sama. Africa, Shah Jahan,
Thank you. Photo session, lunch, caucuses. Thank you.
Honorable members, everybody, wherever you are, please remain standing until the president and the guests of honor leave the chamber. Please remain wherever you are. Thank you.